Well, they say that spies never tell, but that's not true. They find creative ways to speak their truth. Today's guest is a former U.S. intelligence officer who once tracked Osama bin Laden. Lizzy Wright turned real-life experience into a gripping spy novel called Saffron Spy. Lizzy, thanks so much for joining us today.
Anna, thank you. It's great to be here.
Tell people your background. How did you get into U.S. intelligence?
I was lucky. I was recruited from Harvard. It is a thorough process in terms of the vetting. I knew I wanted to serve my country in some capacity. And they do a lot of vetting to make sure you're a great fit. And I assumed I'd be working on the Hill for them, only to find out day one, tracking Osama bin Laden.
Where were you on 9/11?
I was in the building. So I was with NSA. I spent time at CIA and other sites, but that day in particular, which changed my life forever and changed the lives of everyone, I was in the building.
And then you started tracking Osama bin Laden.
I was tracking him actually prior to that. So when I joined the agency in 2000, this was before the Cole bombing. I was part of the assessment team around the USS Cole bombing. And then from there, everything changed dramatically. And it was one of those incredible experiences, but it's almost out of body. It is so surreal to be at the eye of the storm. And so much of that experience informed how I thought about it as I wrote this book.
What surprised you about working in the intelligence community?
You know, there were many things that going in, you understand this is a lifelong commitment. I can't speak any details about the work I did, but there's so much about the work that is the need to compartmentalize, and even within yourself.
Yes.
That certainly was something that it was hard to anticipate the effect it would have on my personal life and the lives of the people around me.
I'm sure, because you can't tell your family or friends anything. They knew what you were doing.
So my father was in an intelligence adjacent position. He was U.S. Marine Corps Force Recon. So he had some understanding of the world I was entering. He knew my patriotism. He knew my desire to serve in some way. The honest truth is they couldn't know details, but I tried to keep them informed at least about where I was.
Could you tell them I'm looking for Osama bin Laden?
At that later point, they learned once,
Wow.
you know, everything needs to be approved before it's shared. But yes, eventually they did know.
So tell people a little bit about Saffron Spy.
Yes. So since I couldn't write my story, this story has been in me for about 25 years. So I left intelligence in 2005. And I knew at that time, the grappling that happens within people in intelligence around moral ambiguity and complexity and legality aside, this is the internal workings of that world and the psychological toll. I knew I wanted to write about that, but I didn't know how it was going to express itself. So ironically, 20 years later, Saffron Spy is born. It's not out yet, but this has been such a passion project to write a novel. I use an Iranian terrorist network, so it's interesting timing around everything that's going on in Iran. Iran is I'm very passionate about the Persian community and about their culture. So it was near and dear to my heart.
The president is considering more military involvement there. What are your thoughts on potential U.S. involvement in Iran?
It is such a complex situation, and I feel so deeply for the Iranian community. This is a struggle for their voice. This is a struggle to release themselves from oppression. The challenge is this intervention has never gone well in the region. And so as I look at it, I hope that it's thoughtful. I hope that allies are involved, and I hope that diplomacy is always, you know, there sounds like there's interest in talking. We never know the authenticity of the, you know, the people who are speaking. However, this is such a complicated situation, and I am waiting with bated breath as with everyone else, because this is such an important next step. because the Iranian people deserve to choose their government. They deserve to be free.
We heard about the big operation with Nicolas Maduro, and
Yes.
Our intelligence community, they got him out of there.
Right.
And so this is really the topic on people's minds. I ask you, I mean, it sounds exciting, right? Because I'm safe in America, so it sounds really exciting.
Right.
But I ask you, are there similarities to James Bond, Jason Bourne? Those are the spies that we know, right?
Right. And, you know, the honest truth is that the world of espionage has a vast array of people, resources, positions. So what you see in
Sure.
the spy novels is that tip of the spear. What's interesting is the entire infrastructure behind that and the amount of resources and support to enable changes. Now, I would say Venezuela is a remarkably different situation than we're facing in Iran.
Sure.
And so, I encourage people to not make too many parallels, because what we would be going into in Iran is a far more complex situation.
Interesting.
And I do think the other aspects of intelligence, when we talk cyber, there's other things that can be at play to, there are many levers to pull in these situations.
Now, I asked you if there were similarities before we did the interview. You said, well, those guys always got the girl, and you got the guy in
Right.
Saffron Spy. Tell me about that.
So what was interesting, back to what surprised me about intelligence, I know going into that world that my life is under the microscope, and rightfully so for national security.
Right.
However, the heart wants what it wants. I fell in love with a nuclear scientist originally from Iran. Now, here on political asylum, and of course,
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my
So
gosh.
this was the premise for the spy novel, and it's
Wow.
how I know so much about the Iranian community. I mean, I tracked Bin Laden. I wasn't focused on Iran. However, that personal pull of what the heart wants versus what you need to do to protect national security, those things were at friction. And of course, to be clear, I passed all polygraphs and all of the rigmarole that happens in the wake of those kind of connections. However, it left a lasting mark on me about the complexity of personal and professional and its intersection. And for me, it was very personal.
What happened to that ex-boyfriend?
I have no idea where in the world he is. I don't even know if he's alive.
Wow.
I know.
That's
great premise
Great
for my
premise
book.
for a book. I can't wait to read it. I love stuff like this.
Yes.
How many hours do you work
Yeah.
if you're an intelligence officer?
Well, the world changed entirely after 9/11. Of course, you always have 24-hour operations, but the surge that happens in the wake of something
Sure.
like that, I mean, it's your life.
24/7.
You don't remember your life
Yeah.
outside of work during those times. But I would say, and this is me now having left intelligence, the fact that we haven't had an attack at scale like that means that some of the changes that happened after 9/11 in terms of less siloing, more need to share versus need to know, the changes that have made us safer. And I am so grateful for that. Obviously, in the wake of a tragedy like that, your life is never the same.
Never the same. I can't imagine what you've seen and heard. So when can we get Saffron Spy?
It is with my editor now.
Okay.
This is one of those, truly a book baby.
Yeah,
So
labor
we
of love
called
for
it,
sure.
An absolute labor of love. And because so much of it was very personal in nature, I am so excited to share this with the world, mostly so that people can understand what you grapple with inside that world, because I think the James Bonds and the Jason Bournes, well, very exciting to watch. The moral complexity and the conflict that happens day to day never makes it onto the screen.
A lot of
but
gray
it makes
zones.
it into books.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. All right. Thank you so much. Come back again. We love
bet.
to have you on. This was so interesting.
Thanks, Anna. Appreciate it.
All right. And we will be right back. Don't you go anywhere. We've got a check of our beautiful forecasts after the break.